All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Back to School with CodeHS webinar called Behind the Scenes of a CodeHS Lesson. You have myself, Joni. I am a PD specialist here at CodeHS, and we also have Lori here. She is also another PD specialist. And what we're going to do is we are going to dive into our lessons today. And while we're waiting to get started here, if you could just introduce yourself in the chat, go ahead and open up the chat and find the chat window, open it up, and let us know where you're coming to us from. We'd love to know where you are, and kind of introduce yourselves a little bit. And while you do that, we will kind of also get started on some just administrative stuff here. Want you to know that we are in a webinar, and so we will be using the Q&A today. So if you have any questions, if you could locate the Q&A on your Zoom panel, and that Q&A is where you can throw any questions that you may have, and Lori would be answering those in the background basically for you right away. And then if she's not going to answer those, or it's easier for us just to talk through the answers, we will do that. But that way it doesn't get lost in chat anywhere. So if you do have any questions, just pop into the Q&A and put those in there. Also, if you don't have a CodeHS account, you can sign up for one at codehs.com/signup. And some of the sessions here that we have, the features are on the site. You'll want to be logged into your account. If you don't have one and you just want to sit back and watch and then go into your account later on, you can do that also. So either way is fine. But if you don't have an account, we are going to, and we are ready, put that link into chat, the codehs.com/signup. If you already have an account, go ahead and get logged in, and we're going to be giving you some resources that once you click on them, if you are logged into CodeHS, you'll be able to see those. You'll already be logged in. So today, what we are going to do is we are going to make sure that you know how to access your CodeHS lesson plans, and we're going to do a deep dive into the lesson plans. We're literally going to look at each section of the lesson plan and kind of give you some ideas of how you can leverage that in CodeHS. And so we put into chat our slides that we'll be using, but I'm going to be going back and forth into the resources and onto our platform. And so you can have those. We'll send those out afterwards. Also, we'll have those available for you. So let's start out. How are we going to access our CodeHS lesson plans? All teachers have access to numerous curricular resources, including the lesson plans. And you'll find a lesson plan for every CodeHS lesson if you're on the Pro version. Now, for those of you using CodeHS free, just want to let you know, Lori spent her whole teaching career using CodeHS on the free plan. And so she can have a testament to the fact that you can get to a lot of stuff from CodeHS on the free version. And so basically what happens is, for those of you who are on the free version, you have access to the first 5 lesson plans for your course. And you can use these first 5 lessons for you as a template to prepare your remaining lessons. So it kind of gives you that springboard into preparing for the rest of the lessons. So how do you find these lessons plans? We have multiple ways. I am going to touch on each way that you can find your lesson plan so that you can kind of navigate around and find out what's best for you. First of all, you can get to your lesson plans by going to the toolbox. I'm going to pop over and show you on your toolbox up at the top. If you click on toolbox, you can scroll down till you find resources, and you'll see our lesson plans. And if you click on lesson plans, that's going to take you to all the lesson plans that you have available to you. So that is our first way. Again, toolbox, lesson plans, that'll take you into the lesson plans. Now, the other way that you can get to them is over on your sidebar. If you come to your IDE and on the platform, you'll find on the left-hand side, click on resources. And when you click on resources, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this, and you're going to find your lesson plans. And when you click on lesson plans, you're going to find the whole list of all the lesson plans available for that specific course. You can choose any course to see your lesson plans from. Over here on the right-hand side, we have a drop box, and you can find lesson plans for any lesson. So that's the second way. All right. Now, another way that you can get to your lesson plans is by going to your resources from your student section. So when I'm in my section, this is my specific course. This is just a demo course. And over on the right-hand side, you can click on resources. And what that resources page will do, this one's really super handy because it gives you a lot of resources for that particular course that you are teaching for that section. So you see the syllabus, and then you can see that each one of the modules, remember our lessons are all broken up into modules, lessons, and activities. Modules, lessons, and activities. And you can see that every lesson is going to have a lesson plan, and you can get to your lesson plan from there. So that's our third way. And then the other way that you can get to it is by actually going to your classes themselves. I'm going to get out of this one, go to your classes itself. And when you go to your assignments, and you click on your assignments, when you open up a module for every lesson, this icon on the right-hand side, the little red icon, is the one that's your lesson plan. And when you select that lesson plan, it's going to open it up to the actual lesson. Tons of ways to get there. Toolbox, resources on the left-hand side, or from your assignment, you can actually get to it. So whichever way that workflow works best for you, that's what you can do to get to your lesson plans. Okay, so what we're going to do here too, I've already showed you how to get to the assignments there. What we're going to do is we're going to just jump into a deep dive of our lesson plans, and we're going to share a lesson plan with you. So the CodeHS lesson plans really do help teachers to plan and modify your lessons. And so we're sharing out a lesson plan. And so if you click on that lesson plan, you're going to see your lesson plan looks like mine. So I've shared this lesson plan with you. When you very first get into the lesson, you can see that you have the option to print it, or you have the option to download it. If you want to share this page with anybody, you've got a way to share it too. So your lesson plan starts out with a description of the lesson and the objectives. And teachers who are using the CodeHS free plan, don't forget that you will always have access to the description and the objectives, no matter which lesson it is. So even past the first 5, you're still going to be able to see the description and the objectives. So you can see when I show you the slides, you're going to be able to see if it's on the free version or not. I'll have this little banner on the right-hand side, so you can see that your description and your objective is on the free plan. Every lesson plan, as you look at every lesson plan and you see your descriptions, really having a well-defined objective and relaying that to your students is going to be really important. And it basically accomplishes a couple of different outcomes. First, it prepares the students for learning, and it gives them a compass as to where you're headed for the day. We're all aware of those students who come into class and the very first thing that they do is they're like, oh, what are we doing today? And if we display these objectives and put them into a level appropriate terminology or terms, we can help to answer that question. So you may not want to write them just as they are. You may want to change it up just a little bit and write them in different ways. We've got different ways that we can display these too. The other thing that this does, if you look at your objectives and you actually put them somewhere, is it keeps you as the teacher focused on what is this lesson? What are we really supposed to be doing in this lesson? Where should I make sure I stay focused? If I don't get anything else done today, what's the task at hand? What do I have to make sure that I get done today? Displaying these objectives, it could come a lot of different mediums. You could digitally project it. So as soon as the students come in, they see exactly what they're going to be accomplishing. You could also have it creatively written on some sort of a poster, or you could just write it on a whiteboard so that they have it for the day. And don't forget that, again, you don't have to write them just as they are. You could change these into statements that might be a little bit more personal for the students. So for example, you might make I can statements out of the objectives. So if we take a look at these first ones, it may say something like, I can define a function and successfully implement functions in your code. And so you kind of want to switch it up so that it sounds really good to the students, and it gives them a personal belonging to it. Also, you could take it into something like this. Today I am going to learn I'm going to learn how to define a function so that I can implement the function into my code, and I'll know I've got it when I can do, and whatever it is that you have them do for the day, whether it's to make my Carol program work, or whether it's to answer 2 out of 3 questions correctly. Like I feel like I know it if I can at least answer 2 of those questions. So you can put it on the level of the students there. Okay, so that is our objectives and our description and objectives. So let's keep scrolling down. And let's take a look at what the next part of it is. And this is a list of activities. So the next session is a list of activities for all the lessons. This is a convenient way for you to jump to that particular activity in the lesson. So they are literally linked so that you can jump to them. Additionally, the teachers on the pro versions have the ability to be able to print the slides, view the slides, and also print the quiz if you want to print a quiz for them to take, if you want them to take a hard copy of it. When you print the slides, what that's going to do is that's going to download a PDF that if you would like to have slides with you as you're teaching the lesson, that's an easy way for you to get a very easily printable slides to be able to have next to you. The view slides is going to open in Google Slides, and it's going to make it so that you can actually make a copy of the slides for yourself, and you can modify them and use them however you think it works best for you. So really, they're yours to use. We've made them, but we're okay with you changing and using those slides as is. And again, the print quiz is going to open the quiz in a format that you can print nicely for the students to take the quizzes manually. You could make it a digital quiz inside the lesson. You can make it unavailable or hidden and use the manual quiz, or just you can use it any way that you want. So you have the ability to be able to do that with your activities. The next one, if we scroll down a little bit further, you can see that we have the solution references and the problem guides. Now, the solution references and problem guides can help you as a teacher be prepared to help students as they work through their assignments. The solution references are available to all teachers. Free and pro, you are going to have the solution to all of the problems that you're working in. The problem guides provide a more in-depth look at the lesson problems. The problem guide not only provides the description of the problem, I'm going to take you over. So if we are in here and we click on one of the problem guides, it's going to look like this. And what it's going to do is it's going to provide you with a description, motivation, solution. Here's the one that I like a lot. I want to draw your attention to the common questions or the commonly asked questions. To prepare for teaching the lesson, these questions and explanations can be beneficial to either head off problems from the beginning. So if you know these are common questions, you could just head them off from the beginning by specifically addressing those common errors, or answering the questions as they arise, and at least you know what to expect from students probably going to ask those questions. Although this resource is not available past the first 5 lessons, so the first 5 lessons, you're going to be able to see that problem guide if you're on free, but Even though you can't see all the rest of them, you can easily see the nature of the common questions and even start to curate your own common questions after each lesson so that the next year you can come back to those and go, oh yeah, students had a problem with this, and then you can use it just like we use our problem guide also. Okay. The next little section of our lesson plan happens to be a list of vocab. Now, the CodeHS lesson plans provide a list of key terms that are used in the lesson. These key terms could be used to display somewhere, or you can even use it to review or make a learning game like Quizlet or something, make your own game up. And so you've got the terms that you know are the key terms. They are also available in our glossary. So if you have your, if you've got your lesson plan, if you click on a key term, I'm gonna go ahead because I don't think I have one open yet. When you click on a key term, what it does is it opens it up in our glossary. Our glossary is available to everyone. So you, as a free teacher, also can just go to our glossary by going to codehs.com/glossary. It's also listed in the resources. So you have the exact same definitions as what's in our lesson plans. It's just a little easier to find the ones that are specific to this lesson, but you still, if you find a key term that you're like, yep, I need to put that up somewhere. If you want to go to get our definition from our glossary, you can do that also. Okay, so that is our vocabulary. Let's see what's next in our lesson plan. Oh, our handouts. Our handout section is next. We provide a variety of offline materials, including worksheets and handouts, and these are great supplement to the coding exercises and dive deeper into the material. Notice that you have a student version and you have a teacher version. And the teacher version obviously has all the answers for you. These handouts are only available with the pro version, but again, you can use the first set of handouts as a template for additional handouts. Handouts are always great to use for students to get off their computers. Work with partners, work in groups. These can be used to as a formative assessment for all students. They could be used for additional practice for students who may need a little more practice. The handouts are also a great way to use these as introductions or explorations for new lessons. So you could use a handout, hand it to the students, have them kind of go through the handout before you ever teach them anything. And that way they're kind of learning, and it switches it up. Instead of you saying, oh, here's how you do it, go do it. You can go, hey, go figure out how to do it and use this handout as a little exploration type of an activity. So the handouts are great resources, and they are there for you to use in your, show up in your lesson plans. Now, don't forget, if you have any questions, throw it into the Q&A and we can answer any of those questions as we're going along. All right, our next little section are our textbook resources. So CodeHS offers digital textbooks for JavaScript, Python, and APCSA as a free resource to use in your classroom. If your class has additional text or has a textbook that goes along with it, it will have a link to it in the lesson plan. So if you don't see a textbook resource, it's because you're using one of the courses that do not have the textbooks. We have a whole list of courses. Our introductory courses have textbooks with them. The JavaScript has the Python, and it has the APCSA. And I believe that Lori just threw in a link, to where you can see what textbooks are available. And when you go to your textbook, I'm going to go ahead and open that real quick so you can see what our textbook looks like. And you can see that this one is the one that's going to follow along with the Introduction to Computer Science, and it's using Carol. And you can work through the textbook or look through the textbook, and it gives you all the instructions. and follows along with the course itself too. So those are our textbooks, and you find those in your lesson plan under textbook resource. Okay, now we're going to get into some nitty gritty, because these are the things, those are kind of the resources, but before you begin your lesson, you're going to want to read through these planning notes and then your teaching and learning strategies. So first of all, the planning notes. These notes will give you a few points to consider when planning your lesson. It's kind of just some reminders. This would be a quick read for you before you actually start in on your lesson, is to go into those planning notes. Again, just some real quick overview of what you might want to check out before you start your lesson. I also want to tell you that you may want to go through your lessons as a student before you ever start looking at your lesson plans, so that you can see what the students are going to feel without seeing solutions, without seeing all of these planning notes and how we're going to use them. You can just go, okay, right out of the bucket, what is it that CodeHS provides us? What am I struggling with? What are those things that I might need to take care of ahead of time? So then the next section are the teaching and learning strategies. This is what I consider the meat of the lesson plan. This section is broken up into 3 subsections. You have a lesson openers, you have activities, and you have a lesson closer. And again, what it looks like here is on the actual one, okay? So we recommend that you work through all the content of your lesson as a student prior to teaching it. Don't forget that if you're going to go through it as a student, you can navigate over here and go into your student, or as soon as you click on it, you're going to be able to see what the students see also. So we recommend that you do that. Now, once you've completed the lesson as a student, this section in the lesson plan is a great place to actually start planning your lesson. So you know those other resources are all available, but this is when you really start to do your planning. First, the lesson opener is a suggested activity. So it's going to give you something that, hey, maybe you could do this as students start to come in and you begin your lesson. It's sometimes a discussion or something along the lines just to get your class started and to begin to engage the students in the learning process. These lesson openers are usually about 5 minutes in length, and it actually will tell you about how long each one of these things. So you'll see that you can see the number of minutes that each of these suggested activities are going to take. Second is a list of activities. Our lesson plans are going to give suggestions on how to use each activity in the lesson. As a user of a free version, you'll be able to use the first 5 lesson plans to get some ideas to springboard you into planning the rest of your lessons. You can use this as a template of a layout to prepare your own. And you're going to see that there are some kind of some trends that you see in each one of the teaching and learning strategies. And they're a little bit different for the first 5, but then you can take those and go, oh, I can do this with this next lesson. I can change that for this next lesson. And so you can definitely use it as a template. And then finally, the lesson closer. As classes should contain an activity or discussion to wrap up the lesson closer gives you some ideas and suggestions of how to wrap up your class. So again, oftentimes it includes discussion questions, and I'm going to show you those discussion questions in a little bit later on in the lesson plan here. So teaching and learning strategies, wow, a lot of stuff that you can get there, a lot of different ideas. The next section in our lesson plan is going to be the prior knowledge. And the prior knowledge here, this is just going to give you an idea of what the students need to know before a student gets started on this lesson. All of our courses include natural scaffolding. So students completing the prior lesson or the lessons before that really should be sufficient knowledge. However, sometimes prior knowledge may include something like something mathematical that students would be expected to already know, but sometimes we know that some students are a little bit behind in their math skills. So you may have to reiterate some of those or reteach some of those math skills. So if you're on the free plan, you'll be able to tell what prior knowledge students will need by going through the lesson as a student. That's how you're going to say, okay, I know the student needs to know this specific thing, so I need to be able to cover it. So it's okay that you don't see the prior knowledge section of your lesson plan. As you're going through a student, you're going to know what the students are going to need. The next section in our lesson plan is the video slides. And this is really just a quick reference where you can flip through the slides as you're looking at your planning stuff. And so it's just a really quick way for you to get to those. You also have the option to be able to print those slides or view those slides from this place also. So it's just kind of a quick reference in our lesson plan that we have included. Then the next section, remember during the planning section, I said the opener and closer usually included some discussion questions. And so what our lesson plans do is we've got some discussion questions that you can reference and possibly use beginning of class, and you've got questions for end of class. And so if you don't want to use them, box just like we have them, at least it gives you, again, a springboard into thinking, okay, what kind of questions could I ask? And the other thing is with the free version, since you've got the first 5, you can, again, kind of see, okay, what kind of discussion questions does CodeHS suggest that we use for the beginning of class? What do those end of class discussion questions look like? Really, those discussion questions can be used to help the students begin to engage in the lesson. It also makes real world connections. Sometimes it also reviews what they've learned for the day as the end ones or what they learned previous. And the end of class one sometimes will even have where the students can apply what they've learned or practice something that they previously learned by sharing it with the class. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use these discussion questions. They are there, but the idea is to get the kids starting to think and wrapping up your class in some I guess, organized way instead of, oh, bell rang, we gotta go, guys. We wanna be able to wrap it up also. So that's our discussion questions section. Now, near the end of our lesson plans, we have modifications. The modifications are for advanced special education and English language learners. These modifications follow mostly the same overarching fundamental ideas. So again, free teachers, you can get ideas from the first 5 lessons for modifications. The modifications for the advanced students is good to use for those students who may complete their work early or they need an additional challenge. So for example, this one says, oh, rewrite the previous exercise using functions as the advanced suggestion. And so it's just something else those students that are advanced or fast could actually do. The modification for special education includes ideas to help the struggling student understand and or retain the material that they learned. And so you can kind of see what ideas that we have here for special education on this one. Print out the slides that show the curly braces, the brackets, how that works, because for them, somebody who doesn't hear curly braces, they may not understand what curly braces mean over and over again. So just having that resource to be able to go to and go, oh, that's what the curly brace looks like. Where's that on my keyboard? It also, if you have those vocabulary words printed out for them. So if you say something, they're like, I don't know what that is that she's talking about or he's talking about, you could do that. So it kind of gives those types of suggestions. And then many times for the English language learners, the terminology is difficult because they may have everyday usage of the English language, but then you begin throwing in some computer science terminology and it becomes a bit more difficult for them. So these modifications can give ideas of how to make connections, some extra practice in a different style, and also some additional resources for them to use. So for example, writing out a syntax word like curly braces, even for the English language learner. So if they're hearing curly braces, but that's not words that really connect with them on a daily basis, but if you would write that down and they can put curly braces, they could put their Spanish word next to it, then that way they can make that connection. So that's how we suggest that you use these suggestions, or those are some of the suggestions that those modifications are. And then we also have the standards section at the end. So the last section on the standards, these are the standards that are covered for the lesson. And if the course is connected to standards, it's going to show up here. You can use these to document administratively, and you can use them for students based on their learning or assessment tracking. So if you want to assess them on what standards they had for the day, you can connect specifically to a specific standard and say, yes, they've passed that standard, or no, they need more help on that standard. So all courses in the 6 through 12 pathway are aligned to the CSTA standards. And so I'm going to see if I've got this over here. If you go to, I think that, Lori, did you put that in chat yet? If you go to our curriculum standards page, which is codehs.com curriculum standards, and we come down here to the, which one am I going to select here? Scope and sequence. There it is, the CodeHS scope and sequence. If we open that up, you can see the courses that are mapped to standards. And so if you go in and you're teaching, let's say you're teaching Intro to Computer Science with JavaScript, when you go into that one, what that's going to do is it's going to take you into the standards. Now, the reason that I tell you this is because if you're on the free version, if you have this standards page and you go to the scope and sequence, this is all free information for you. So you literally can see what standards are being covered for each module. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't break it down per lesson. So at the end of a module, you can go through and see what standards that you've addressed. You can make sure that you've assessed them on those standards, and you have the same stuff as what's available in our lesson plan too. So that makes those standards, that standards page, amazing, because you can still get to all that information. All right, that concludes all of the sections that you have available on our lesson plans, and maybe how to implement and use each one of the sections to make your courses planning a little bit easier for you, and to help you to think outside the box. We really encourage, even though CodeHS provides everything that you need, there's a video to show what it is that the students need to learn so they can watch that. It's got some check for understandings, it's got examples, it's got exercises, and literally it's everything that they need. However, you got to remember that you as the teacher are the expert. You're the one that can add value. So we've given you everything that you need to use, but you're the one that's going to think through, for my class, what do I need to do? How do I want to use each one of these activities? How do I want to use each one of these things? How do I start my class? Don't let them just come in and say, okay, guys, open up CodeHS and get started. That's going to get real old real fast for them. We want to keep it new. We want to keep it lively. We want to keep it interactive. We want to challenge them. We want to be able to guide them times that they get lost. And so this lesson, these lesson plans are where you can go to get all those ideas to keep it fresh and new for the students. So with that being said, I also want to invite you to any of our upcoming webinars that we have. You can see that I've just listed a few, but if you go to codehs.com/webinars, it'll give you the whole list of webinars that we have coming up. So make sure you check that out. And I believe that Lori put that into chat also. So if you'd like to open that up and take a look at it, you can get signed up for some of those. Some other resources. If you want any more information at all about CodeHS, we encourage you to go to codehs.com/learn-more. Reach out to one of the CodeHS team members and just say, hey, I would like to learn more about CodeHS. I haven't gotten into it as much as what I'd like to. I want to know more about it. So just shoot them a little form there to fill out that little form and shoot them a message that says, hey, I want to learn some more. We also have all kinds of different things. You can become a CodeHS certified educator. We'd love for you to join our CodeHS community on Slack. You can follow us on social media. You even have the ability to be able to earn CodeHS micro credentials. So again, if you would just check out all the rest of the resources that we have at CodeHS. And on behalf of both Lori and myself, I want to thank you guys for attending today. I hope that we have given you some ideas from our lesson plans, that there really is a lot of information there that, that we've provided to you. And we wish you the best in the rest of your year and getting ready for next year or next semester, and to really dive into those lesson plans and use them fully. So with that said, we're going to wish you the best day, and we will wrap it up.